So what are you going to be doing now? I mean, are you part of you say you're part of like the creative, axis of NWA?
I mean, yeah, I don't. When it comes to when we were doing Power, I was, I would have stuff run by me, as if somebody if they asked for my input, but I wasn't. It wasn't like I was sitting here doing every single thing. But Billy and I have always had an understanding that he trusts me when it comes to like my angle, like the sort of the world title angle, or for at least for the period of time that I'm the champion. He's always pretty much just been like, where do you want to go? How do you want to do it? You know what I mean? Like, what are we, and pretty much, and obviously it's always like approval, needed, but for the most part, it's pretty much, I kind of want to do this. I want to take it this way. I want to do it like this. And then, whoever else, it's very, very collaborative, and obviously in this interim, I've basically taught myself how to edit and direct, because I've figured out that if I didn't do it, like, it wasn't going to get done. So like the title match I just did with Mike Bennett, like I produced the 10 pounds of gold piece that went along with that, which, it seemed to get some pretty good reviews.
But you guys,
time out. This is you and Mike Bennett are going to have philosophical disagreements. You see that tweet that he made the other day, where he's talking about we need to be nice to the fans, we need to be like. Did you see that?
Can't call them marks anymore, stuff like that.
I did not.
What do you think about that?
I think I understand where he was. I understand what he was saying. Like, I think he meant in the sense that, like, fans and wrestlers sort of, they need each other, So it's like I've always put it like this. It's a symbiotic relationship, but at some point around the sort of social media time, again, stemming from management who aren't wrestlers, who don't get that gratification of a crowd response and a sort of and the love of the audience and everything, they want credit, like they want their moment in the sun, like they want their round of applause, if it wasn't for me, none of this would happen. And it's like, we have to know who the booker is now, and we have to know who wrote this, all this stuff. And I think that what happened is, the easiest way to get to that point for those people was to sort of do a lot of this sort of flowery kind of, if it wasn't for the fans, we'd be nothing. And, you're the most important people, in the day. And like, I would see, Dixie would do a lot of that stuff. And I remember saying this once, I was like, the problem is that we've spent the last 2 or 3 years telling the audience that they're the most important people on the show. And now they believe it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a two-way street, because then you start, that's when you started to get that culture of like, the audience members who think that their dollar is worth more than an average fan's dollar, because I post on message boards and I go to every single thing, and I have a DMs with the booker, whatever. So now I'm more important. So if you piss me off, I'm going to go tell them. I remember people, like, I would get, kind of, you guys know what like the Orlando scene was like when, TNA and stuff. Like, I was in my 20s. I didn't give a shit. Like, I would go out and get up and like, mess around and party and stuff. And like, some fan would like say something stupid to me, like try to get themselves over. And I would just shoot on them and be like, oh, shut up, whatever. And like, sometimes they'd be like, I'm going to tell Dixie what you said. I'd be like, go tell her. Right. Like, because, you can't live, like, because, there's always the ones who take it too far, right? So they cultivated that thing of like, oh, they have, there's a difference between respecting the fans, which of course you have to, but the fans also have to respect the boys too.
Yeah. You know what? Me and Conan disagree on this too, and I just think because of the arc of professional wrestling and where the fans have gone, it's lost a lot of viewers over the years. Conan always says, just listen to the fans, listen to the fans. I'm like, okay, well, the fans are wrong. Why do you want it? Like, and that's the constant battle that wrestling faces, is the people that know what needs to be done to draw money, and you're fighting against fans that kind of want the opposite of that. And it's like, right. So there's the challenge.
Wait, let me elaborate on that. Okay. This is very easy. I have a very good track record of discovering and cultivating talent, but there are times when the fans will let me know who the next star is. And for me to ignore that, it would be the stupidest thing I can do. So I give them what they want. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, but then again, we'll argue this,
We can argue it all day.
If you looked at the model of professional wrestling and what it drew over the years, and all of a sudden, if you're looking at business stuff, and no due disrespect to these guys, but if CM Punk and Daniel Bryan are your top guys out of listening to the fans, it's like we can argue this. That's to say, we
hold their weight. They're good wrestlers, great on promos, great characters, everything.
But
those
like I said,
level guys.
Like I said, if you're selling this product to people and fans and trying to increase it, so if you're looking at the market of what you're trying to sell this product to, would you rather have Nick Aldis out there in a three-piece suit, or would you rather have a vegan guy with a beard hanging down to his down to his belly button? It's
I think that's oversimplistic. I think
it is oversimplistic, but let me
probably
finish.
The vegan guy with the beard.
It is oversimplistic, but it's at the point where we've taken those and made them the flag carriers for the product, and it's like I just they have a spot on the card. They have this, but I think the visual presentation of wrestling,
bro,
over the years has taken the hit.
When you look at our top guys in Mexico, right? Psycho Clown, the biggest ticket seller in the country. Mm-hmm. Pentagon and Phoenix, need I say more? LA Park, a super legend who can still go at 50 years old, and I will put anybody in the ring with him, and he will beat their ass. And Rush, who's an ROH, and he's a superstar, bro. Those are our top guys. Who looks like a jack off out of that group, or a vegan, or some clown? None.
Right. They're larger than life characters, and they own it, and they present it, and they've got conviction in the way they do it. Right. That's really what it's about. And I think that what we've moved, I think it all stems back. I think we'll actually all agree here, but I think it's just we're being presented differently in that. I've always thought of wrestling as like a sports movie or a morality play with violence, right? The difference between
live action theater is what.
Yeah, the difference between wrestling and sports is that we can create the anticipation and the build and the and the training and all the other stuff, but we can determine the outcome to make sure it's satisfactory, right? You can promote the biggest prize fight you want. Look at Mayweather Pacquiao was a fight. In the end, it's a shame because the build to that, obviously, that's a once in a lifetime, kind of build and a moment. And obviously the box office was phenomenal, but the fight didn't really live up to the expectation, but in wrestling, the idea is that you can find those, but then once you get to the finish line, you can determine the outcome to make sure that it's the storybook ending. And I think that because we've become so sort of governed by approval, of the match has to have X amount of moves, and it has to have this, and it has to have that, and it has to be
at least 4 stars.
It has to be executed. Yeah, it has to be executed in a way that the criteria has changed, and ultimately I just look at it I'm looking at it from can I get people emotionally invested in this? I'm a perfectly capable wrestler in the ring, but I'm not I'm not Pentagon. What I mean? I'm not.
I think you've heard me say this. I think you would agree, bro. A 5-star match has never drawn a dime. The dimes are drawn before the match starts. Sure. And it's so that I think we've all forgotten. The professional wrestling business has forgotten that. It's nobody, Nobody, the people buying for investing you're selling a match, not the result.
Right. Being a good worker is being able to convince people to part with their money, and then having the ability once they get there, when the bell rings, to be able to deliver enough to make sure that they felt like they got their money's worth.
Right. Exactly.
And that's what UFC does so great that they learned from us, which is there's so many matches that I'm not invested in, I'm not interested in. Okay. But in UFC, they do a really good job of getting 2 personalities and you getting invested in it, and you want to see the match because you're not really sure what the result's going to be a lot of the times. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And that's one thing that they do really good.
Yeah.